And welcome to DC Central, and in today's video we're going to be going over and breaking down the season premiere of Arrow Season 8, otherwise entitled Starling City. And if you have not seen this episode, make sure you go and do so before proceeding with this review, as it will be filled with spoilers. So it's been a long time coming, but we're finally here. The final season of Arrow has finally kicked off. This is a bittersweet time for me. Obviously, I'm super excited for this new season of Arrow. This is my favourite show of all time. I am so excited for this season. But of course, this is also the final season, so we are now at the beginning of the end of this show. But you know, we've been getting a lot of hints and a lot of tips as to what this season is going to be about and what it's going to be bringing in, and it really feels like this final season is just a love letter to the show and is as being described as a best of Arrow. So, you know, and if this episode is anything to go by, it's definitely the direction they should be going. So I'd just like to talk about the flash forwards first, just to get them out the way. The flash forwards were fine in this episode. Obviously, the flash forwards were a bit of a contention last season. They were very, very controversial. In this episode, we kind of see, you know, the new Team Arrow of Mia, Connor, William, and Zoe. They are all fully formed as a team, you know, new Team Arrow, or Team Arrow 2.0. They are now out there doing their thing, taking on the Deathstroke gang, led by JJ, who is, of course, Diggle's son. This was all alright. There's not really anything particularly much to it. It's kind of light. It's kind of just a few action sequences here and there, and a little bit of character drama, just because Mia is a bit hot-headed and things like that. It was fine. It was okay. The Deathstroke gang were actually kind of cool. I actually quite liked the way that they were this really militaristic force led by JJ. Again, I still kind of want to know the backstory behind that. I still want to know why JJ turned evil and Connor was the one who went good. And I still think the Deathstroke gang as an idea is still stupid. I've said that ever since it was introduced last season. I hate it. I think it's a terrible idea. But they were kind of cool looking, you know. And it is kind of cool, you know, if we're not going to get Deathstroke in this final season, which I don't think we are, you know, at least we'll have some kind of remnants of the character. But yeah, these flash forwards, they were okay. They were fine. You know, the characters do get a bit better, I think. You know, Mia, I think, was a bit better in this as she was last season. I still really like William, still really like Connor, really like Zoe. And yeah, like I say, I think Mia improved quite substantially. So yeah, the flash forwards, they were fine, not particularly great. I mean, every time a flash forward came on, I was kind of letting out a sigh because I just wanted to go back to the other storyline. So the opening scene of this episode was just nostalgia straight up. I mean, this entire episode is nostalgia straight up, but I mean, when you see the, you know, footage of Oliver just running through Lian Yu, I was very confused at first because I was thinking, is this our Oliver? Is this another Oliver? Is this perhaps not Oliver at all? But it turns out it is. But he's there to essentially get picked up. So basically he got dropped in Earth-2 and he landed on Lian Yu, so he had to find a way to get back to the mainland, so he did it the exact way he did it on Earth-1. Really nostalgic, really cool. In this scene though, you do see what appears to be Batman's mask with an arrow through it, like Deathstroke in Season 1. I have no idea what that means. I don't know if that's an Easter egg or what, but I don't know, something happened there. Something happened there where, I don't know, where Batman's mask is there. I think it could have a link to Adrian Chase, but I'll get back to that later. But super cool to see that, and obviously the Monitor had a bit of a speech there where he was talking about Paragons. I don't know if Paragons means anything. Let me know in the comments if you know anything about the comics in regards to Paragons, but I don't know, it was just really cool for them to like recreate that very first opening scene from the pilot in this episode. Now, when Oliver returns home, we get to see a few returning characters who we knew were in this episode. First off, Susanna Thompson, who returns as his mother, Moira Queen. What a joy it was to have Moira back in this episode. Moira, I honestly think, is one of the best characters Arrow has ever had. And it's always a true treasure when we bring her back, because every time she comes back, she always delivers super powerful scenes, and she does that in this episode. Susanna is such a tremendous actress, and her chemistry with Stephen Amell, I really buy them as mother and father, or a mother and son. I think they have really great chemistry together. Their scenes are always very emotional, very raw, and that is very true in this episode. It was lovely to get Moira back for one final episode. Also, John Barrowman returns as Malcolm Merlin. Him and Moira are married on this Earth. Malcolm, he's kind of different on this Earth. He's actually good on this Earth. He's actually a good guy, which was nice. It was a bit of an interesting twist, especially when it comes to Tommy. But I think that Malcolm, again, just nice to get John Barrowman back for one final season. And Tommy, played by Colin Donnell, returns, and it was Tommy's great in this episode. Like, Tommy's really good. Not only because Colin Donnell gets to do some really cool acting, but also just because, obviously, this was a version of Tommy that fans have wanted to see forever. You know, this was an evil version of Tommy. He was the Dark Archer, like he is in the comics. It was just a really awesome thing. And, you know, as a fan, and as fan speculation, you know, we've speculated we wanted to see Tommy come back, and we wanted him to be the main villain and be the Dark Archer and things like that. To get a little hint of that in this one episode, it was just fantastic to see. Now, Thea is actually dead on this Earth. Thea overdosed on vertigo due to, like, a reaction. It's like a reaction to Oliver and her father getting lost at sea. This was interesting to hear, actually. I didn't expect this, but this basically serves as Tommy's motivation to create his own undertaking and to blow up the Glades. This was good, actually. I like the fact that they changed the motivation, because they could have easily just kept the same motivation that Malcolm had, which is just, you know, where Malcolm's wife died, i.e. Tommy's mother, but in this they actually changed it to Thea, and I actually like that, because it actually added a bit more of a personal connection with Oliver as well, so I thought that was really good. Obviously, I would be more annoyed at this if we didn't know Thea was coming back later on the season, but we do know Thea is coming back in, I believe, episode 3, so we could just look forward to Will Holland returning, but all these returning characters made this so worth it. Now, the reason why Oliver is on Earth-2 is because he's trying to collect dwarf star particles for the Monitor. Now, we don't know why the Monitor needs them. He just says, you know, you're doing my bidding, do as you're told. But he goes to Queen Merlin Consolidated to take him, and he has a fight with the Green Arrow of Earth-2. Now, after that fight, we do actually see Laurel show up, and she actually reveals that the Earth-2 Green Arrow is actually Josh Segarra as Adrian Chase, and this was the greatest thing ever. If you guys don't know, Adrian Chase is legitimately one of my favourite characters on Arrow, probably top 3. I just love Adrian Chase, I love Josh Segarra, I think he's wonderful in this, and I think, in my opinion, Prometheus is the best villain in Arrow. I know a lot of people do say Deathstroke, and I completely agree if you say Deathstroke, but for me personally, I love Prometheus. So to have him here and play a good guy, like to play the Green Arrow of Earth-2, super cool. I do think there was a continuity issue here because Robert Queen was actually said to be the Green Arrow of Earth-2, I believe on The Flash, but whatever. I don't care. It means we get Adrian Chase as the Green Arrow. I couldn't care less. Now, we do go back to the Arrow bunker on Earth-2, and this was really cool because Laurel is actually the leader of the team here. It's not actually Adrian, it's actually Laurel. And she has completely done up the bunker with all these like pink and purple lights. It looked awesome. It looked almost better than the original Arrow bunker. But to see her as the leader was fantastic. She really fits well as the leader. Her new costume, of course, looks fantastic. Her new hairdo is really cool. And also the fact that she's working with Adrian Chase is really awesome. Like, the fact that Adrian Chase on this Earth just happens to be the Green Arrow, really awesome. Now, to tie back into that Bruce Wayne Batman mask we saw at the beginning of the episode, in this, Adrian Chase actually says that Bruce Wayne once told him something. So Adrian Chase actually knows Bruce Wayne. Could it be random to say that, obviously, Adrian being the Green Arrow on this Earth, could Adrian have spent time on Lian Yu? And instead of being stuck on Lian Yu with Slade, what about if Adrian was stuck on Lian Yu with Bruce Wayne, and he had to fight Bruce Wayne just like Oliver had to fight Slade on the island, and instead of putting the arrow through Deathstroke's mask, he put the arrow through Batman's mask? I don't know, is it a crazy theory? I don't know, but it kind of makes sense in my head, so let me know your thoughts, but I don't know, maybe. Now, Diggle actually returns here as well. This is where we see Diggle. He actually uses a breacher device from Cisco, from The Flash, of course, to breach over to Earth-2. When Diggle first showed up, they kind of do this really good scene where it's Oliver basically, like, Oliver thinks this is just Diggle from Earth-2, but it's actually not. This is actually Diggle from Earth-1, and he tries the same trick he did in the pilot where he escaped from Diggle's custody, but Diggle obviously knows that trick and he stopped Oliver from doing it. Really awesome. This was a great scene. Like, him and Diggle in the car was fantastic, and all the conversations between Oliver and Diggle in this episode were fantastic. Diggle is saying, you know, you can't do this alone. You need, you know, the team. You need at least me. You know, you're not going to face this crisis on your own. Obviously, Oliver being stubborn is trying to get him to, you know, abandon that, but Diggle's having none of it. So Diggle is along for the ride for this season, which is fantastic. We need Diggle, we need David Ramsey in this final season. He is Oliver's #1 guy. We need him for the final season, and also we are getting Laurel in this season as well, which is great. So I have to say, I love that Diggle's in this, and there was so many good moments. It just proves why David Ramsey is one of the best actors on the show, and his chemistry with Stephen Amell is just wonderful. So just so many great scenes with them too. It's just great to watch. So like I mentioned earlier, Tommy is the Dark Archer on this Earth, which is really awesome to see, and he is creating his own undertaking, which is of course the big earthquake level event that caused the Glaze to get destroyed back in Season 1. Now, we get a really awesome Season 1 kind of recreation, because we have Oliver chained up like Malcolm had him chained up, and he escapes from that, and then him, Adrian, Laurel, and John all go and storm the facility to take down Tommy, and we actually get a recreation of the Season 1 fight between Oliver and Malcolm, but with Oliver and Tommy, and that was great. You know, Tommy gets to do some really cool fighting here, because obviously Tommy was never a vigilante character. He was one of the only kind of main characters who never became a vigilante, so to actually see him, you know, be like a super villain archer, and take on Oliver like that, super, super cool. And I love how they kind of actually they actually redeemed him in this one episode. They took him, and Oliver convinced him that, you know, it's not too late, it's not too late to do this, you could change it, and he did, and it was really awesome to see that. And I just think that, again, these scenes with Tommy, like, making Tommy, like, the villain of this episode, just a great decision. And again, it really gave the fans what we wanted to see for years, and I just loved the Season 1 recreation of it all. Like, this episode was described as an ode to Season 1, and it really felt like that, with all the characters, the scenes, how they dealt with it, and the story of this episode was basically the entire season-long storyline of Season 1 condensed into 45 minutes, and that is super impressive and really well done here. So anyway, after Tommy is eventually taken down and the earthquake machine has been destroyed, or not destroyed, but shut down, basically Oliver takes the dwarf star particles from the device and then goes to see Tommy in prison, or just in the SCPD, and as he's walking out, he says goodbye to Moira. We get a really good emotional goodbye scene with Moira. Just a really great final scene between those two actors before, because this is the last time we'll see Moira and Susanna Thompson on the show, so just a really nice goodbye scene there. As they're walking out, though, we see this big white kind of cloud, or, energy just sweeping across the room, and everyone starts to get destroyed, like in Infinity War, where, Thanos snapped his fingers and everyone started to fade to dust. We see Renee fade to dust, we see Dinah fade to dust. I didn't even mention Renee and Dinah. Renee and Dinah are like evil, corrupt, kind of crooked cops in this Earth, but they get killed, then Moira gets killed, then Tommy gets killed, and then Diggle, Laurel, and Oliver manage to escape. Now, this is essentially, again, big setup for Crisis on Infinite Earths, which we'll be getting at the mid-season. What we essentially see here is Earth-2 getting destroyed. Obviously, with Crisis, a big thing that happens in Crisis is a large multitude of the Earths in the multiverse get destroyed. Earth-2 is one of the famous ones that gets destroyed, and yeah, we actually see Earth-2 get destroyed here. Earth-2 is now gone. Which is crazy, because Earth-2 has been such a big part of the Arrowverse, particularly on The Flash, for a really long time. So to see it get destroyed like this, it did take me by surprise. I didn't expect to get, Earth destruction so early in this season. I was expecting that all to happen in the crossover, but to get it here, in the first episode of this season, really crazy stuff. Now, as we learned on The Flash this week, obviously I will do my review for The Flash tomorrow, but as we learned on The Flash this week, we actually saw that white stuff is actually antimatter. So antimatter just swept across Earth-2 and destroyed it. Really crazy. So this is what we can expect to see in the crossover in Crisis when things start to go wrong and start to get destroyed. We're going to see antimatter just sweep across the Earth and just destroy it to smithereens. So I didn't expect them to destroy Earth-2, but that's what they've done. I have seen a lot of people speculate about whether Harry from Earth-2 and Jesse Quick are still alive. I think chances are they will be. Like, Jesse's a speedster, I'm sure she could have got away with it, and obviously she could have took her dad with her, so I think they might be still alive, but who knows? On The Flash we might find out that they're dead. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Overall, though, this was an absolutely insane premiere episode for Arrow. I think this is potentially... I might even go out on a limb here and just say that this is the best premiere Arrow has ever done. It's just a love letter to Season 1. It's a love letter to the fans. Especially if you're a true fan of the show, you will really appreciate all the nostalgia that this episode brings up. Bringing back characters like Tommy and Malcolm and Moira and Adrian back into the fold in different ways. Seeing these alternate reality versions of these characters so exciting, giving fans what they want, you know, giving people a look at a good version of Adrian Chase, which people wanted to see, or Tommy as the Dark Archer, which people wanted to see, and also just giving us a really good hint at the stakes we are looking at with Crisis, with Earth-2 getting completely wiped out, you know, an Earth that, you know, out of all the Earths in the multiverse, except for, I guess you could maybe say Earth-38, Earth-2 is the one that we've had the most connection with for a long time, so to see Earth-2 get completely wiped, again, it really demonstrates the kind of threat we're dealing with here when it comes to Crisis and Infinite Earths, and really emphasizes why Oliver is doing what he's doing with the Monitor. So, overall, I thought this was wonderful. I thought it was such a great episode, absolutely fantastic. It was just great to see. Again, the only weak point really was the flash forwards. I didn't think they were particularly great. They were fine. There was nothing particularly wrong with them. They just weren't very exciting, especially in comparison to the rest of the episode. But really good stuff overall. Super, super strong premiere. Again, potentially the best premiere Arrow's ever done, and I loved every second of it. So have you guys seen this episode? If you have, let me know all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more DC content just like this, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload from me. And I hope to see you guys again tomorrow for my review of The Flash, and next week for our continuing reviews of the Arrowverse. Thank you guys for watching.